He loves to fight.
If I had to guess, it's because he probably wins them all.
How about the San Francisco blast he threw at?
He said, and he brought all these knee pads with him.
You're like, huh?
I don't know.
Not giving the right imagery.
I don't know. Mayor of San Francisco, who knows?
For years, the big health insurance companies have been raising the price of insurance, denying care and delaying treatments, while making record profits and receiving trillions of America's tax dollars through federal programs. When they get asked why health insurance prices keep skyrocketing, the big insurance companies dodge, distract, and blame everyone else. But the American public isn't buying it. Recent national polling shows that voters are concerned about affordability and, most importantly, want Congress to prioritize lowering the cost of health insurance. That's why Congress recently grilled the CEOs of the big health insurance companies to answer questions. After years of denying responsibility and pointing fingers everywhere but at themselves, the big insurance bosses are finally being asked to answer for skyrocketing premiums while they make record profits. It's an important first step, but Americans are demanding action and accountability, not more excuses and denials from big health insurance companies. Learn more at americansforopengovernment.com.
Why do farmers love President Donald Trump? Because he delivers. Trump's landed historic trade deals, cut costs, and red tape. He's worked overtime for agriculture and ethanol since day one. Now, it's time for Congress to deliver. Year-round E15 will help our nation secure energy dominance, drive savings at the pump, and unlock a homegrown market our farmers can depend on. Congress, year-round E15 is long overdue. Let's deliver.
Ladies and gentlemen, your attention, please.
Keep the faith, hold the line, and own the libs.
It's time for our main event.
Good Thursday to you. Welcome back to the Ruthless Variety Program. Are we in an economic boom? We'll find out. We got the guy in charge of it all in the Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. Welcome back to the Ruthless Variety Program. I'm Josh Holmes along with Comfortably Smug, Michael Duncan, and John Ashbrook left to right across your radio dial. As always, a very good episode in front of us today. Smugglesworth and I, we had the opportunity to go be a part of the Newsmakers. That's typically a role reserved for our White House correspondent.
Yeah, our audio-only listeners are really missing out. Both Holmes and Smug are all suited up here.
You don't see it every day.
You don't see it every day.
No, it's like a vestige of time gone by.
Did you guys coordinate on the ties? You're sort of doing like an inverse thing?
I think he looks very handsome,
You both
so I
do.
can assume I can assume that we look similar.
Yeah.
Sharply dressed. And honestly, this was a tremendous event.
It was.
For the Treasury Department and President Trump to announce the Trump accounts, which are a huge deal.
Yeah, so it's a big event in Washington, D.C., where the whole bunch of folks from across industries,
Captains
sectors,
of industry.
totally, along
Who's
with
who?
everyday people. Nicki Minaj was there.
Hell yeah.
Had a chance to say hello.
Michael Dell.
Michael Dell,
yep.
who's, of course, one of the funders.
Contributing $6.25 billion to American
Jeez.
kids.
It's a big number, big
Huge.
check to write. Wouldn't you love the opportunity?
Yeah.
You're like looking at you. Oh, who do I make this out to?
Right.
6'5", no problem. We can take that. We'll figure that out. We'll let the accountants deal with it. I'll just stroke the check. But all of that, President Trump was there, made some kind remarks, and sort of talked a little bit about the origins of the Trump accounts. It's important to you all because, look, this is a thing that's happening. You wouldn't notice by the media, by the way. They're talking about, like, you know, whatever leftist psychopath has decided to put themselves in harm's way in some protest somewhere. They're not talking about the fact that what happened with the big beauty was that this Trump account, which affords every child that it's born from January 1, 2025 through the duration of the Trump term, $1,000 in an account that can grow over time. Mm-hmm. And the interesting part is we talked about this with Bessent, and I can't wait for you to hear this interview, by the way. Fantastic.
It's incredible.
It's in part just the financial health and well-being of America's families. But it's also a good lesson to an awful lot of young Americans who, unfortunately, through a product of our education system, doesn't teach financial literacy particularly well, particularly in underprivileged areas, where it sets a baseline which you can compare socialism to. Like, this is what a capitalism society can do, and you now have an account and a vested interest in it. Measure that up against the promises that Mom Downey makes you, and we'll see. You know, by the time, our bet is that by the time you're 15, 16 years old, you're going to be like, the hell are these people talking about? I have real money here. Anyway, he gets into that and a whole bunch more. We talk, he loves to fight.
Truly.
Yeah.
He loves to fight.
As people say.
And we get into that. I don't think anybody else has asked him any of these questions because, you know, there's been a lot of rumors about him knocking out cabinet secretaries and things like that. In addition to just like completely crushing Gavin Newsom in Davos. We talk about all of that. I think unique stuff you'll only hear here when we caught up with Bessent there. We also happened to notice that the President of the United States was recognizing several members of the crowd. Saw Senator Ted Cruz, and for the first time in my awareness, publicly, he said, well, he should be a Supreme Court justice. Which, of course, a little bit newsworthy in that you've got a couple of justices that are sort of in that window where you would look to a potential retirement. Who knows? God bless them. I love every one of them. I hope they stay there forever. But you don't want a Ruth Bader Ginsburg situation on your hands. And so, you know, perhaps there's going to be changes afoot. For Trump to say Ted Cruz ought to be a Supreme Court justice, I thought was particularly newsworthy. So Smug and I decided we'll just rattle on down and we'll get the man's response to all of that. You got that in this episode, too. Along with some variety, because it's Thursday, we got to play a game.
It's action-packed, top to bottom.
Yeah. So anyway, a great show in front of us. You are really going to love these interviews. I will say we are in Philly tonight. First live show we've done in a long time. So for those of you who were lucky enough to get tickets, I think this sold out in like a blink of an eye. Apologies that the venue can only hold thousands.
Not millions like we were promised.
So we're sorry about that. But if you have tickets, please arrive early because it's going to be a packed house. Doors open at 6 o'clock. Downtown Philadelphia. If you got your ticket, you already know where it's at. I can't say it on air, but it is what it is. And the show in its entirety will be airing for our online audience on Fun Time Friday because it's a fun time.
It's going to be great.
If you've ever seen a live Ruthless show, like you think we're edgy, put us in front of people. Gets a lot more edgy. So anyway, we've got that going. Whole lot more, but I want to get right to the Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. Well, we're here with the Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. Thank you so much for having us here on this incredible kickoff to Trump accounts.
It's a great day. President just gave a great speech, had some great Americans up on stage with him.
A lot of energy in the room, incredible cause. We're talking about fundamentally changing the future of young people born in a very specific period of time where they are the lucky ones.
Well, born in a specific period of time, the ones that were born during President Trump's term are going to get the $1,000 seed investments, but children up to 18, parents can open accounts for them. They can contribute to them. Parents can contribute, relatives, employers. We got a lot of great philanthropists like Michael and Susan Dell. $6.25 billion.
Incredible number.
And then we had Ray Dalio previously announced he's going to adopt children or fund children in the state of Connecticut who aren't eligible. Brad Gerstner today said all children in the state of Indiana.
I heard that. The president pushed him to sort of expand the map a little bit.
Yeah. Well, we were in Iowa yesterday.
Got it.
So
okay.
we were in Iowa yesterday, and I think we're going to get some interesting news on Oklahoma. One of our great philanthropists today.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
That's great. Well,
Such a wonderful cause. But when we were first speaking with your staff about setting up this interview, I made a deal with them. I said, I'd be happy to share a big announcement if you could make it happen. They've made it happen. And my wife and I are expecting our first child in May. You will have a Trump account. Thank you, President Trump, and thank you, Secretary Bessent, for setting this up. It's incredible.
Well, and look, the 38% of American families have no exposure to the equity market. So, again, no wonder look, a lot of the younger people are down on capitalism, don't believe in markets. Yeah. And I just think we're going to couple this with a huge amount of financial aid. Companies are going to contribute. We think 20 states are going to top these accounts up.
Incredible.
And I think they're all going to mandate financial literacy. Yes. So, I mean, this is going to be an online or real-time financial literacy via boom.
Yeah.
And the other thing, I grew up in a small town in South Carolina. I just knew something bad had happened on Wall Street in 1929.
Right.
And this is really I say it's the biggest merger in history because it's Wall Street and Main Street. They're together now. I talked about parallel prosperity, but now this is a merger.
Yeah, that's the thing is for so long there's been a talking point of like, well, the stock market isn't the economy. Well, now this is a way to get the entire generation invested in American prosperity to take part in all of that.
Exactly, and understand the power of compounding. To look at our great companies, to think about markets, and I personally do not like state lotteries. I think it's taxation without representation. You look, the lowest income states have the highest participation, and now I think this is a way, instead of paying $10, $20 a week for a lottery ticket, which you have no chance of winning, put this away for your child, and whether it's 18 years or 65 years. I mean, think about like the numbers when people turn 65. This is an incredible supplement to Social Security. Social Security going to baseline the defined benefits monthly payments, and then you have this big nest egg waiting too.
Well, that's the thing is, so like I crunched the numbers on this. If you have the $1,000 that's contributed from the government into the child's account, and then the parents or their employers, everyone contributes the max amount, and you contribute nothing else, that's hitting $890,000 if it compounds at 8% over 65 years.
That's a lot.
I mean, it could be a retirement account.
It's great. It's great. So you got the foundational Social Security, and then like you got the cake, then this is the icing.
Yeah.
One of the things, so we have a lot of young parents, people sort of starting families that listen to our show, and financial literacy has always been a big concern of people, right? When we got out of college, got our first job, the last thing you were doing, at least I was doing, was trying to figure out, all right, how do I put my money where? You're basically trying to make ends meet. What I love about you and the president saying that you're like the biggest supporter of this is in that context of financial literacy. Young people aren't getting enough of that. And you have an investment, you can see the power of compounding. It provides a lesson in a way that actually nothing else in life right now can do.
And it also, you realize that the American enterprise business system is working for you. All of a sudden, it's just not, okay, NVIDIA's the first $4 trillion company.
It's somebody else's money, right?
Somebody else's money. You wrote it from $2 trillion to $4 trillion. Okay, what's going to be the next company? There was the one woman up on stage who said that her son had bought all these Pokemon cards and invested in those. Well, they
may not hit.
they may not hit. My son does that too. But again, to have a piece of the action, a share of the pie, but just to continually think about it. Like, this is working for me. My money's making money. The system does work, and the better the system works. And I actually think it's also going to be an immediate referendum on bad economic policies.
Oh, thank you. Thank God we need some of that.
So if somehow we were to get an administration that really took the economy off the cliff, too much regulation, too much, too high taxes, too much wealth confiscation.
The Mamdani view of the world.
Yes.
Essentially.
Yeah. And that all of a sudden, everyone's going to be looking at their phones saying, I'm not for this.
Right.
Right? I didn't sign up for this.
I have a baseline that shows me the other way.
Throw the bum out.
Yeah, well, it's well done.
Yeah.
So I've got to ask you, you were in Davos last week. Was it on the plane ride over that you decided to steal Gavin Newsom's soul, or was that just something that was extemporaneous?
No, look, I'm a peaceful guy. I don't fire unless fired upon. The governor showed up at a talk I was giving. I don't think he understood very much of it. And I used to teach. There's always a kid in the class who doesn't understand what's going on, and he gets frustrated and then lashes out. So, like, he made some rude remark about my talk, and once he started, I was going to finish.
Yeah.
And I also think that it's one thing. He's a Californian. I think he's probably never lived outside of California.
Right,
To go on
clearly.
the international stage is a big deal.
Yeah.
And he had to go to Davos to see all the CEOs he chased out of California.
Oh, right.
But I actually think he was cracking up a little because it was just saying strange things. Like the president is a Tyrannosaurus Rex.
Yeah, it didn't make any sense.
Didn't make any sense. And Tyrannosaurus Rex was the apex predator back then. Like, it's kind of a compliment. And
his
then,
dino's wrong.
And then he said he brought all these knee pads with him.
You're like, huh?
I don't know.
Not giving the right imagery.
I don't know. Mayor of San Francisco, who knows?
Well, you certainly let him have it. My favorite part was it was like a Billy Madison like takedown in that first one, and then the next morning they gave you another opportunity because he piped up. You had to let him have it again, and it was fantastic because here we have you and a Treasury Secretary who's up to his eyeballs in all kinds of stuff, working for the American people. Lord knows the president has you involved in everything at this point, and you get this governor who basically thinks he's going to get by on a big smile and a nice head of hair. And you even took the hair out.
Yeah, well, and are those even real?
Yeah, right.
But you know what fascinates me about all these strong Democratic candidates? Every state where these Democratic governors come from is losing population, led by California. But let's look at Governor Pritzker in Illinois. Let's look at Governor Shapiro in Pennsylvania. Tim Walz is
In a whole different category.
yeah,
Almost.
but Minnesota losing population, Michigan losing population. Numbers just came out today. My home state of South Carolina, great Governor Henry McMaster.
Yeah.
We have the highest percent of inbound, and you know why? Low taxes, low cost of living, light touch regulation, and plenty of jobs because that's where all the factories want to build.
Energy is all around us. It's how we move, how we build, and how we make every day a little easier. We're all around America's oil and natural gas, supporting 11 million good-paying American jobs across the country and powering our way of life. But energy demand is growing and fast. That's why we need to overhaul our broken permitting process to unleash America's abundant natural resources, strengthen national security, and create a future where American energy leads the world. What America builds today will help secure a more affordable, more reliable future with enough energy to go around for generations to come. Our country can't wait. We must pass permitting reform now to help secure American energy dominance. Because when America builds, America wins. America's oil and natural gas. Paid for by the American Petroleum Institute.
Look, economy writ large. President's talked about it a lot. There was a lot done in 2025 to set the infrastructure for growth. Big, beautiful bill, all of the stuff you were doing at Treasury and the regulatory point all across the agencies. We're now in a point where you're seeing the economy beginning to grip. The growth is going up. What's your prognosis here over the next year?
I couldn't be more bullish on strong non-inflationary growth. So that's the most important part. I think we're going to see the inflation numbers dropping, coming back towards the Fed's 2% target. That if you believe the Atlanta Fed GDP now, we're at 5.4% growth.
Amazing.
And the amazing thing, then we had 4.4% in the third quarter of last year. The amazing thing about that was it was really closer to 4.7 or 4.8, but we contracted the government.
Yep.
Yeah, right.
So the private sector was 4.7 or 4.8, and I think 280,000 government employees gone. We shrank the budget deficit.
Yeah.
So everyone said that the deficit was going to blow out, be above 2 trillion. Just the opposite. The deficit to GDP, which is the important number, has really dropped. We inherited, so for calendar year 2024, it was 6.9%, the highest ever when we weren't in a recession, weren't at war. 2025, 5.4%. And my goal, I talked about getting it down toward 3% by the time the president leaves.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's well said. It is funny. Everybody predicting basically a loss or contraction of government jobs, which is wholly unsustainable. For that to be your growth engine, you basically transfer that into the private sector, and like all the doom and gloom predictions.
Well, it was like the president said in Iowa yesterday. He said, I could create 1 million or 2 million jobs. I just have the government hire people.
Exactly.
But we've done the opposite. We have taken down the government jobs, made the government, right-sizing the government from the Biden blowout, and the private sector is going to pick up these people.
Which is sort of the only way to keep things like Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, all these things sustainable.
Well, it's also the only way to keep up living standards, because part of this affordability crisis is government jobs only are indexed to inflation.
Right.
So you can never get a real wage increase. But private sector jobs, you get productivity, you get competition, and I think we're going to see the very strong private sector job growth. We saw 12-14% CapEx last year, and CapEx, job growth, consumer spending. 1, 2, 3.
All headed in the right direction. Yeah. So, look, you seem to be enjoying yourself as Treasury Secretary.
It's incredible working for the president. It's an honor to serve the American people. And the president spent a lot of time with him yesterday out in Iowa.
Yeah.
He gave a great speech. It was. I had so many. My phone was blowing up because everyone said he's got like the exact formula now. It's the perfect combination of weave and economics and the real. He says there are 80-20 issues, but like in private will tell you they're 97-3.
Yeah.
Like no men and women's sports, securing the border. So
you got to win them down here.
I just thought like the speech yesterday really resonated with everybody.
I saw it and I was like, I'm hoping he's on the road a ton for the midterm, because we need to keep this growth going. The way that the U.S. economy has rebounded, and like you mentioned, like CapEx is up. Companies in America are happy with the way things are going.
Yep. So we saw John Deere yesterday. They had 2 new plants in the U.S., one in Indiana, one in North Carolina.
Sort of unthinkable 10 years ago.
Unthinkable. Yeah. And the CEO said, Mr. President, it's because of the tariffs. It's because of the tariffs. I was out in Minnesota, greater Minneapolis at Winnebago.
Yeah, I saw you stop by Maynard's. That's an old haunt. I grew up about 6 blocks from there.
Okay. Oh, yeah, I love Maynard's. They're there all the time.
You had a warm reception, I saw.
Well, the other thing, too, is like when some unhinged, probably paid by the CCP lunatic starts screaming at me in a restaurant in D.C., it's on the front page.
Yeah, right.
I'm walking out of Maynard's. People start clapping.
There's a standing ovation.
Yeah.
Then they say USA, then Trump.
Yeah.
Nada.
Yeah.
Right? Nada.
Yeah,
So,
no, of course not, right? They want everybody to believe that everybody's a left-wing lunatic.
Yeah, and look, in Minnesota, President Trump won 78 out of 87 counties. It's just like that corruption in Hennepin and Ramsey County. I say it's 10,000 lakes and one big cesspool.
Yeah, that's 100% right. That's 100%.
From the work that you've done out there in Minnesota, have you been shocked by the level of fraud and the amount of dollars stolen from the U.S. taxpayers?
Yeah, one local journalist who I was talking to had a great saying. He said, benefits have been turned into business.
Wow.
There are people who, it is their business. They teach people how to form these NGOs, these LLCs, and they just all skim. And
it's like a self-licking ice cream cone, too, because it then just goes right back into the political ecosystem and it perpetuates itself.
And I think that the leadership out there doesn't hate, the deaths are terrible, but I think they don't hate the chaos, because the chaos is
takes them off the hook.
Is shielding them. But they're not off the hook.
Right.
They are not off the hook.
Good.
So,
I'm glad to hear that. A lot of people are glad to hear that, because that is obviously, to us, their intention, by trying to shift the chaos away from culpability on the reason we're there in the first place.
And we're going to take it to every state. My friend Chadwick Moore had a great piece in the New York Post about 2 weeks ago about a senior facility in Chinatown. And it's mostly seniors who come in for lunch, and they're charging the city $87, but they're ordering from the Chinese restaurant next door where it's $6 or $7.
Incredible.
Amazing how that happens.
Even when I was in the investment business, like you couldn't
Private
do
equity, we love that cash flow.
Well, you could never do an arbitrage like that. The 10x with an Uber Eats order.
Amazing.
So one of the great frustrations of people like you who are just incredibly successful in their private lives that get into government is it changes super hard. We're seeing that now with President Trump taking on all these entrenched interests, and there's a reason why people haven't changed immigration policies and NGOs and all of this kind of stuff that has just plagued the American government. You've walked into this thing though, and you've been busting some heads. It feels like you almost enjoy the harder the task is to get involved and just sort of like, you might be the only cabinet secretary to allegedly have recorded a couple knockouts while he's in his term.
Treasury Secretary is Alexander Hamilton.
That's true. There is some.
There's some precedent.
Combative.
But look.
Apparently, you win your fights. All
yeah, exactly. But we've only got 4 years to fix the system.
Urgency.
There's urgency. A lot of this is systemic. A lot of it was taken for granted. We can't have business as usual. And look, that there are some fine Democrats who work in these institutions, and like you're not in trouble working there because you're a Democrat. You're in trouble because you've abused your position, or the system is just corrupt.
Yeah.
Like the system is just corrupt. We've discovered this whole system of set-asides that it was meant to help minority businesses. Well, there's a group that's forming these businesses
Just to take advantage of it.
yeah, up in Alaska, and it's just like a series of post office boxes that are claiming to be indigenous people. And the biggest companies in America are running through no bid contracts through there. Like you see this, and like this is where when Elon and I were talking one time, and I said, Elon, they're coming after you because you're moving people's cheese.
Yeah.
And he said, Scott, it's the American people's cheese. And he's right.
He's
right.
absolutely. I mean, there is entrenched interests, obviously. You're battling these every day. A lot of people get disheartened when you look at a problem with the magnitude, the scale that we're talking about in terms of fraud. This seems to excite you.
Well, look, President Trump just pushes you to solve the problem. And Secretary Rubio, I don't know how many jobs he has now. He has a different outfit on the internet every day.
Memes.
Great memes. Wait till you see the TikTok with me and Nicki Minaj. Marco's gonna be jealous. Marco's gonna be jealous.
The internal competition for who's got memes.
Yes, but look, we're here to help the American people right-size the government and ferret out waste, fraud, and abuse.
Yeah.
That it could be up to $500-600 billion. Like,
It's a big number.
I mean, think if you put those in Trump accounts,
Yeah.
what it would do
It
for
would be
the
unbelievable.
children of America.
Yeah, a little bit of growth rather than just fraud.
Yeah, exactly.
It's crazy.
Exactly.
All right, so the stuff that you can control, at least from our vantage point, you guys have done an enormous amount of work on the infrastructure of making us successful, both economically, wages, everything else. What makes you nervous globally in terms of the global economy, how that affects here in the United States? Is there anything you feel like you're a step ahead at this point?
Well, we're monitoring it pretty well. Could there be an external shock? You never know. The January 2020, President signed this incredible phase one trade deal with China, and then
90 days later,
6 weeks later, the government shut down.
Yeah.
And he's right. The economy was just hitting on all cylinders then. I wasn't privy to the polling, but in the popular vote, he was probably ahead 6, 7, 8%.
Yeah, oh, for sure.
He was killing it. So it's just like what kind of unknown is out there. We try to have a lot of, at Treasury, we try to have a lot of early warning indicators on
It's comforting to
financial
a couple of guys that grew up in the 08
Yeah.
situation. The job prospects, not terrific, but also just scary as an American consumer. And it seems as though, because you talk about this sort of thing a lot, that you have eyes on different pieces to make sure that we're not just completely vulnerable.
Well, there's a group of us who predicted and made money, and on the 06, 07, 08, 09 the crisis. And I promise you that I didn't take any joy out of it. We were screaming to the rooftops, look at this. Yeah. Look at what is happening. And it's always the same. I told the history of financial crises at Yale. And it's always
a nice backdrop.
Yeah, it's always the same. So we're constantly testing here, pushing there, and making sure that the system is sound. I think the problem with a lot of Democrats is they think that overregulation is the answer. Yeah. But how do you never get in a car accident? Never leave your house. Yeah. Right?
Right, fair enough.
How does a bank never lose money? Don't lend any.
Right.
And back to Main Street, we're trying to bring back small banks. 50%, 50% of small banks, community banks, have disappeared since the GFC. And I think that's one of the reasons Main Street has been hurt, because they are real estate loans, small business loans, ag loans.
And they're part of the community.
Part of the community. Yeah. And so we are trying to get back in the business of, if somebody wants to start a small bank, of supporting that. We got too big to fail. It became too small to succeed.
Yeah. All the regulations that government was putting on banks made it so that you couldn't even start a small bank for a community at all.
And in 2023, with all that regulation, with all that supervision, we had 3 of the largest bank failures in U.S. history. Right. And I tell you, Elizabeth Warren couldn't sweep it under the rug fast enough.
Doesn't want to talk about
it. Don't want to talk about it.
Well, there's an awful lot of us that take great comfort in knowing that you are at the wheel of this economy, because you're doing a heck of a job. You know what you're talking about, your toughest nails. Can't thank you enough for joining us and inviting us to this wonderful event.
Well, good. Thanks for coming. President Trump sets the tone. I'll get a call. Scott, I didn't wake you. Did I? No, sir. I'm always up at 1:52 on Tuesday.
That's
so, like, you got to keep up with him. And like I said, it's an honor to serve. I think we're going to have a great economy, and I do think that one of the president's great legacies, I think some of these peace deals that are going to endure will be a great legacy. But I think for the American families,
this is going to change the trajectory of so many families. The Trump accounts, building that wealth and financial literacy.
And one of the journalists said to me before, and I'd never really thought about the symmetry of the number, 39% of young people don't think capitalism works or believe in socialism. 38% of households don't have financial assets or not invested in the market. So I think we can make a big difference there.
Turns out when you have a financial plan, things generally work, right? You have a plan. If you have the capability of planning, it works out for you.
And again, you got the government and the private sector doing it
on
together.
The right side.
On the right side.
Yeah.
So,
well, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it.
Good to see you all.
Absolutely.
Good to see you.
Fellas, I got to tell you, just an absolute masterclass in conducting an interview. You got into fighting. You got into Gavin Newsom. You got into the Trump accounts. You got into something that I'm hoping that we can reserve until after we discuss all of those hard news items, because Smug's baby is the hottest item on the Ruthless Variety Program.
You decided to break the news in real time to the Treasury Secretary.
Yeah, I mean, like I said in the interview, when his folks first got in touch with us and said that, Treasury's doing this summit with President Trump about the Trump accounts, I said, listen, if you can get us a sit down face-to-face with the Treasury Secretary, I'm going to break the news globally.
Do you think
you'll have this exclusive to the Treasury Secretary?
Do you think Smug worked some sort of side deal with the U.S. Treasury that they up his Trump account?
Yeah, no, I feel like Bessent was in on it. He also seemed to be like, oh, okay, good, you're dead. That's awesome.
And see that.
He's not that fired up. He's not as fired up as the rest of us were.
Well, I mean, he met Smug, and he's probably like, are you sure?
He's like, holy shit, I'm going to need double these Trump accounts. I mean, listen, it's a big deal. You've been giving fatherhood advice on this program for what seems like the entirety of this program.
Yep, and that's the thing. Part about the Trump accounts is a lot of financial literacy is like academic. You read about it, but what do you do in practice And that's what everyone's going to see when my wonderful son arrives.
You're gonna demonstrate to the rest of the world how you father a
How
child.
it's done, 100%.
Yeah.
I could not be more thrilled. My wife and I are just over the moon. Our families are thrilled, could not be happier.
Are we thinking like Michael Smug Jr. for the name or something? Or?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Josh-
probably not. We
Josh,
have,
Michael, John,
we have some great names in mind.
Smug.
And we will wait until he arrives. Can't wait in May.
I think we should let the people vote.
And
It's a
also,
great
like,
idea.
it is so fortuitous that he's here for the 250th anniversary of the country. You know, like, you think of all these stories you get to tell your kids, and he'll be born the year America turns 250 on its 250th birthday.
Yeah.
And, you know, the public found out about him through the Treasury Secretary. You know, like,
Yeah.
President Trump is making all our dreams come true. And
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
thank you so much, Treasury. Thank you so much, President Trump. This has been a wonderful experience, and I could not be more excited.
It's like when Smash talked to John Adams about this sort of
Yeah.
thing.
That's right,
back in
face
the day.
to face.
You were
fellas. I'll tell you all about it.
But honestly, he went wide range of topics that we went through. You get the impression that he's just not shy to a fight.
No.
Real happy to engage, whether it be physical or rhetorical. He's your man.
And if I had to guess, it's because he probably wins them all. Like, the streak that he's on, this economy is red hot. And you look at all the accomplishments him and President Trump have gotten done, amazing.
How about the San Francisco blast he threw at?
You
I didn't see that
caught
coming.
that, right?
That was
Dude does not take prisoners.
that was interesting. I didn't see it coming.
Who wants a Treasury Secretary that gets up there and bores everybody and just signs his name to the dollar bill? And,
Yeah.
and it's like, you want a fighter.
Totally.
This economy needs a fighter. And it's like no wonder why he has so much optimism about the future of our country, because he sees it for what it is. The guy is actually brilliant.
Yeah,
I mean,
totally.
you talk to anybody in this town, Democrat or Republican, in New York, people in the finance sector, they all sing his praises.
Yep.
They're like,
Well,
okay,
you know,
well,
you encounter so few people in this town who aren't in it for like the status seeking or the fame or the notoriety. That's almost signing your name to the dollar bill is like that's the best part of being a Treasury Secretary. And you just get the impression he doesn't give a shit about any of that.
Right.
Like none of it. And the harder the fight, it seems like the more excited he is. I mean, look at him lean in on that interview when we started talking about the Gavin Newsom stuff and like the back room brawling and all of that. Like that's what he loves.
He's there for the fight.
It's like, yes, now you've got my attention. What a thing. I mean, it's great. Particularly satisfying for that other thing we talked about, which is like, what are we doing to look around the corner?
Yep.
Because like for our generation, every time you've sort of gotten a foothold in something, like, whoops, we just had these weird things with housing markets and commoditizing your mortgages, and we decided credit default swaps were in order. Sorry. You got no more jobs and no more livelihood,
Right.
Or then you build this incredible economy in the first Trump term, and it's like, whoops, we did a global pandemic for the first time in 135 years. Like, so, like, him talking through that, I've never heard him discuss that with anyone, but I think it's because that's the perspective that we bring on this, is that, like, things feel good. It feels like you're doing a bunch. So what's around the corner?
Yep.
Yeah.
Right? Because our generation has been entirely encapsulated with the rug pull.
100%.
I believe the left calls that generational trauma or something.
Yeah.
We've had some of that.
We've had some of that. But to have him saying, yeah, we pressure test this stuff. Like we are looking around. I'm not going to get into detail on it, but yeah. It just brings me so much comfort
Yep.
in knowing that you've got somebody who thinks of the job that way rather than what's my name look like on the dollar bill.
Right. He's got a personality, mostly I mean, we said it before, but that position usually has somebody who can't talk their way out of a paper bag. They got the green eye shades and the number 2 pencil, and they're like, no, I swear to you, if you line up the debits and credits, this is going to work. And it's like, you have a guy who's an actual leader in
Yeah.
that position. I mean, we're so lucky.
Yeah,
To have somebody
we
like
are
Scott
so
Bessent in
lucky.
that job.
No question about it. Coming up next, your comments from last episode when we asked, what are your early Senate predictions, which is the states that Republicans are going to win and why? You had a lot of good comments on all of this, and that's part of our midterm coverage, which we're going to be doing an awful lot of. We're going to add in short order all of the House side of all of that, which I know our House friends over there, which, they don't have a lot to do. So We're joking. We love you. But I think Chairman Hudson's coming on sometime soon to give us a whole layout of what we covered in the Senate for the House side in short order. Your comments right after this. Okay, when you like and subscribe to the Ruthless Variety Program, we give you a question of the day. We read every single one of your answers and get back to the very next episode. The previous question was, what are your early Senate predictions? Which states will Republican win and why? To do that, we always start with a voice.
Well, fellas, the first comment comes from a mighty familiar name, Michael McCready. Michael writes, personal prediction. Maine and North Carolina are the most likely GOP losses in 2026. Other Republican seats would flip only in a strong Democratic wave. I predict the Republicans will keep control of the Senate, but margins will be tight.
Interesting. Interesting case. I mean, look, there are a lot of theories of the case, and we're going to give it to you straight here throughout. We're going to talk to everybody. It's primary season. We're going to give you a good sense of who these candidates are. You can be the judge ultimately, but I think, like we're not in the business of floating everybody's tires. Mm-hmm. So we'll give you our senses of where we're at throughout this process. It's a good episode to set the table, I thought, on all of that. All right, comment 2, Dunks.
This one's from Java Blanca. Java writes, of all the seats, the debacle in Georgia in 2020 needs wiped from this earth. If Republicans can't get Georgia back where it belongs, despite Atlanta, I hold little hope for a Senate majority.
That's a good take.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of people that think that's a must-win situation. Mm-hmm. I agree. I mean, I think not just in terms of this Senate majority in, what will be 2027, but a little longer term, when you think about 6-year terms, you kind of have to have it.
Yep.
You kind of have to have it.
And local politics does still matter. I don't think Democrats' brand in the state of Georgia is at its peak right now on the heels of Stacey Abrams stealing $2 billion for gas stoves.
Right.
It's not their best stuff, and I feel like we do have a shot in that state. We should.
Yep.
We should.
Yep. We're going to talk to all the candidates here in short order. Comment 3, Smugglesworth.
Comment 3 is from Casey Hines. Casey writes, road trip to Louisiana? Smug on a fan boat? That sounds like a trip Fox News could underwrite.
Oh! Did we write this?
Kilmeade and Smug alligator wrestling? Pay-per-view gold mine.
Casey. Maybe Casey is like a pseudonym for Wolf.
Yeah.
It feels like that one almost came from an internal standpoint. I love it.
I bet Kilmeade would be in. He's always a blast to hang out with.
Well, he's going to be working. And
Yeah.
you think he wears a suit and tie if we alligator wrestle?
Dude, if there is something that needs to be done, Kilmeade is there in a suit and tie. Does not matter if it's the crack of dawn. Does not matter if there's like a snowstorm. Kilmeade's the guy.
Wakes in it up and just cinches it right from the beginning. Alarm goes off, cinches it, ready to go. Maybe a teeth brush. That's it. Okay, so coming up, very important comments from the President of the United States and an issue that is probably going to confront us here in the early part of the summer about the Supreme Court and whether there's an opening and whether President Trump has a choice. Well, he indicated he might have one, and we talked to not only him, but we get the reaction from the candidate right after this. Okay, so Smug and I are just sitting in the audience enjoying a wonderful day with all the Treasury folks and the titans of industry and the people who are going to take advantage of Trump accounts. And the president has got his typical entertaining comments. He's got a little something about everybody in the audience. And
He's doing crowd work.
he's
Great at it.
absolute best at crowd work. And then he gets to Ted. And it's like he always has a little bit of fun with Ted Cruz. Interestingly, he took it in a very different direction. Can we go to this clip?
Ted Cruz has one thing that I like. If I ever have problems, because it's hard to get people approved, he's a brilliant legal mind. He's a brilliant man. If I nominate him for the United States Supreme Court, I will get 100% of the vote. The Democrats will vote for him because they want to get him the hell out. And the Republicans will vote for him because they want to get him the hell out, too. Where's Ted? Where are you, Ted? And with all of that being said, he's a great guy, too. He's a great guy. We've become friends, and he's a very effective person, too. Thank you, Ted, very much.
So, all right. So, in typical Trump fashion, he's having some fun, but then he drops this bombshell, which has been rumored for a long time. Well, we decided we got to hustle down and try to find what Ted Cruz's reaction to this is, because in the Republican atmosphere that is Washington, D.C., it's long been rumored that this guy has been shortlisted at some level for a Supreme Court. His background's in the law. He thinks like a lawyer.
Younger guy
Would be an incredibly effective conservative jurist. So we're like, we got to get his reaction to this. Well, I think we might be the only ones that are getting reaction. Check this out in this interview with Ted Cruz.
Something that President Trump mentioned really caught my ears and imagination. He mentioned Supreme Court Justice Ted Cruz, which I think would be, if we talk about legacy, having a true defender of the Constitution on the bench, I think the American people would be excited with that.
Look, I am flattered to be discussed in those circles, but I will tell you it is not going to happen. Okay. My answer is not just no, it's hell no. And you know, look, it is interesting. In the first Trump term, the president talked to me about all 3 Supreme Court vacancies.
There were, yeah,
and we had very serious conversations. And I told him no 3 times. Now, I don't want to overstate it. He didn't offer it to me, but the one that was the most serious was the first vacancy. It was the Scalia seat that went to Gorsuch.
Yeah.
And the president took about 45 minutes in Trump Tower leaning in and trying to convince me that I should do it. And I just said, look, no, I don't want that job.
You're like, I don't look good in a robe anyway.
You know, black's not my color.
Did part of you want to be like, you know what? I love Barack Obama's Supreme Court pick to be Ted Cruz. Let's do this.
You know, look, I particularly on the first one, I wrestled with it because I knew Justice Scalia and revered him. He's truly a legend. And to have the opportunity to succeed him, I mean, talk about taking your breath away. I mean, that's an amazing possibility. The reason I said no, and people are surprised when people hear that, they're like, why would you do that? And I had friends of mine that are like, are you an idiot? And maybe. But look, a principled federal judge stays out of political fights and stays out of policy fights. I don't want to stay out of those fights. I want to be right in the middle of them. And if you want to be in the middle of political and policy fights, being in elected office in the political branches is the right place to do it. So if I'd said yes, there would be no Trump accounts because I wouldn't have written that provision. The school choice provision, I wouldn't have written that. I want to fight for school choice. I want to fight for Trump accounts. I want to fight to secure the border. I want to fight to cut taxes. I want to fight to rebuild our military.
Yep.
being a judge is not the place to do
and
that.
Outlining at the same time as understanding what makes a good judge by refusing to engage in it.
Incredible.
That's well said. Very well said. Listen, great event. Obviously, these accounts, these Trump accounts, incredibly important. You've been active on this for years and years. What does today's event mean to you?
Look, today's event was awesome, and I think this is utterly transformational. There are two provisions that were in the One Big Beautiful Bill, now called the Working Families Tax Cut.
Yeah.
By the way, it polls 30 points better, which is why everyone calls it the Working Families Tax Cut. It literally, you change the title, and 30 points, it pops up.
We still call it the Big Beauty.
Yeah, well,
But,
you're polling 30 points down. You've been in this business long enough.
Yeah.
But the two provisions in the bill that I think are the most consequential are, number one, school choice, and number two, the Trump accounts. And both of those I authored. They're both my provisions.
Yes. Really?
And I went to the president and made the case directly. And I'll tell you what I told my colleagues. You know my colleagues, the Republicans in the Senate.
Yeah.
So last April, we had a retreat of all the Senate Republicans, and we were drafting the One Big Beautiful Bill, which you should tell me to change the name of it. And I stood up, I said, look, there are lots of really important things in this bill that we all care about. Securing the border, hugely important. Rebuilding the military, the biggest tax cut in a generation. All of those are massively important. Yeah. And what I said to our colleagues is I said, listen, we ought to think for a minute about legacy, about what in 10, 20, 30 years will people remember that really makes a difference. And in April last year, I said, I've got two candidates for that, school choice and the Trump accounts.
Yeah.
And both of them are in. You look at these Trump accounts, every kid in America is going to get the benefit of compound growth, but we're making a whole new generation of capitalists. This is what makes me excited, is that half of Americans don't own a single stock or bond. Now every kid in America is going to be an owner of the biggest employers in this country. That's
They've
transformational.
got something to measure up against the socialist promises that never come to fruition.
They've got candidates or these politicians like AOC and Bernie trying to get young people into socialism, being like, "Oh, you've got nothing going for you. You've got nothing to lose." This actually gets skin in the game for young people.
Exactly. And that's what got me very excited. Yeah. All right, I'm going to tell you a cool story that you're going to like. Do you know how the Trump accounts got enacted?
I'd love to hear your version of
so the origin story goes back April a year ago. So not last April, but the April before. So as you guys know, I like to play poker.
Yeah.
And I do every year in April, I do a poker fundraiser in Vegas. And so I'm at the poker fundraiser in Vegas, and we get some poker pros who come out and play with us. And so Phil Hellmuth.
J.B. Pritzker, for example.
No, that would be out of my budget.
Yeah, right. You get Phil Hellmuth that?
Yeah, Phil's awesome, and he's a buddy of mine. He's one of the greatest poker pros alive. And so we're sitting there, Phil and I are playing. It's about 2 a.m. at the Bellagio. And Phil asks me, he says, "Hey, do you know Brad Gerstner?" And I said, "No, who's he?"
No way.
And, Brad is a Silicon Valley venture capitalist, brilliant guy. And he came up with the idea of the Trump accounts. Brad and his two sons, literally at their kitchen table, they came up with the idea.
Amazing.
And so Phil describes it to me, and I said, "That sounds awesome. I'd be very interested in that idea." So Phil pulls out his phone, and he puts together a text thread, and he texts me, and he texts Brad, says, "You two should talk."
Amazing.
The next week, Brad got on a plane, flew to D.C., came to my office, pitched the idea to me. I said, "I love it." We immediately drafted the bill. That's what's in the bill. That's what this
incredible.
event is.
Amazing.
From a 2 a.m.
So all you got to do is play a little high-stakes poker with Ted Cruz. Next thing you know, your policies are sailing.
There you go. What happens in Vegas doesn't stay in Vegas.
That whole "I'm Just a Bill" song isn't really how it works, I guess. You guys are in the poker game at 2 a.m.
and a good river. Listen, I know you've got a lot of stuff.
Now, I got to say, though, I'm getting a little bit of an inferiority complex, which I know is something that I struggle with.
What have we done now?
I'm shy and a wallflower.
Everybody says that.
Yeah. So I just want to do what I can to fit in.
There it is.
And so
That's a good look.
Yeah, when in Rome.
You got to be careful in those things. People can mistake you for all kinds of nefarious stuff when you're wearing that on set.
Hey, your partner in crime is a good-looking man.
I love it. Senator, thank you for joining us. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Senator.
Thanks.
I mean, fellas, once again, just an absolute masterclass of interviews. The guy, first of all, Ted Cruz is always fun whenever we have him here on the program. But I mean, that is real news.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The journos in D.C. can't get that news. You get it here on the hottest, most influential podcast in the country.
I got to say, I don't believe Ted. I don't believe him.
You're not buying it.
I'm not buying it.
Really?
I mean, Ted came up in the legal world. I mean, he worked as a lawyer on the Bush campaign. He becomes Texas Solicitor General, where he's bringing suits against the Obama administration.
Which is like a pathway.
Arguing before the United States Supreme Court. I have to think at some level, this is the brass ring becoming a justice.
I mean, I would tend to agree,
that's what I'm
except for
saying.
when Smug asked the question.
I know.
You don't get hell no a lot.
Yeah, it's true.
The thing is he gave such a great answer to that in terms of what you would hope to hear from someone who's like, "I want to effectuate policy. That's why I'm a legislator.
Yeah,
judges should not be like that." And I was like, wow, that's a great answer. At the same time, I think the right should start having judges who are wanting to do policy on the bench. Maybe he's the right guy.
Do it, Ted, for the
Let's do
job.
policy. But interestingly, in the interview, he also provides background, for the first time that I've heard it, on why this rumor started in the first place.
Right.
And that he's talking about his interactions with then President-elect Donald Trump right after the 2016 election, where he has to fill that Scalia seat. I didn't know that it went to the extent of doing multiple interviews and grilling him for 45 minutes and trying to convince him to take the gig. That was the first time that I'd ever heard that. And he'd come back to him a couple of times subsequently. So this was a real thing.
That's breaking news.
Yeah, but I think he's at a different period in his political career. I think if he was offered again, he might take it.
Well,
He would be great at it.
He would be great.
He would be so
phenomenal.
Great. I mean, that's what I'm saying. I want him to take it because I think he would be phenomenal at it.
Can I throw a conspiracy in here?
Okay.
Oh, please.
Unfounded. Completely baseless.
Okay.
Rumor around town is that he has been meeting with an enormous amount of influential people about perhaps another presidential bid
Really?
in
Heard this.
2028.
Yeah.
And that is ruffled a few feathers in the Vance camp as a result of that. Maybe what the President of the United States is doing there is sort of road testing. He's throwing up a trial balloon on a way to just sort of clear out a successor to Donald J. Trump
Solve this problem.
in some ways, and that you get both an incredibly sort of uncompromised justice that you would want as a conservative, which Trump has done throughout his entire presidency, and you can kind of figure out a way to clear a lane for a successor. What do you think about that?
I mean, that's a theory.
Yeah, I think if that's true, you're going to have every member of the Federalist Society sweating through their Park Avenue shoes on their way to the White House to try to say they're also running for president. All you have to do is nominate me as a judge. And I won't run, sir, I promise.
He also had some funny, I didn't realize he was the pen behind a lot of the Trump account stuff. But the backstory on that, in terms of the guy that he met and the conversations that they had about how you would structure that, was fascinating. Because we've heard from basically everybody. I actually didn't know when Cruz was in the audience during the president's address. I was like, oh, it's weird, interesting that Ted's here. Like, I didn't connect the two. I didn't know that he was actually responsible at some level for putting the whole thing together.
And I mean, what a victory, not just for President Trump, not just for Treasury, not just for Cruz getting this across the finish line, but these Trump accounts are going to change the course of so many families who are going to start building wealth and learning about managing money instead of ending up a victim of the school systems, which essentially just don't teach financial literacy whatsoever.
Well, can I say one more thing about the Trump accounts? I think the brilliance of this is it's done in such Trump fashion, in that he's taking this like populist side of an issue that otherwise would have probably died a slow death in a white paper in the bowels of some think tank.
Yeah.
Where like I could understand that there'd be, conservative thought leaders
You're
who
so
are
right.
writing about this as a way to get young people invested into the American economy.
Yeah, 20-year think tank discussion.
But you can never figure out a way to get it to the light of day because of the machinations of politics
Agreed.
in D.C. It takes somebody of the personality and the populist streak of a Donald Trump to be like, hey, you know what? I'm not only going to get this to the light of day, I'm going to get a bunch of billionaires to buy into this program, that otherwise would never get done.
Yeah, somebody's stroking a private check for 6.5 B.
Yeah, I mean, who can complain about that?
What a way to get it off the ground.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, it's really well done. Anyway, the great interview, and he threw on the shades at the end.
Yeah,
for
he
you.
did.
How about that?
Everyone was just having a great time. This was such a tremendous victory for all the stakeholders there, for President Trump, for the Treasury, for Senator Cruz. It was just great to see everyone there united. And this shows when everyone's working together, great things happen.
Totally. Although when he threw the shades on, I felt like the Delta Force was going to fly through the window. He looked like Pablo Escobar in those things. It was like... I mean, for real, you saw it. I mean, if you're not on YouTube, you should check it out. Tell me I'm wrong.
He became Rafael Cruz.
Yeah. Very, very true.
Last image John Kennedy ever saw.
All of a sudden, you had that sonic weapon.
Wow.
I can't believe you just did that. Yeah. Just did the full 2016 throwback.
Yeah.
We'll never know.
Yeah. That and what was the killer? Zodiac.
Zodiac killer.
Yeah, the Zodiac killer. Also, I threw in the thing right off the top about the ice storm. For you OGs who are here from the beginning, you know exactly what I'm talking about. The first time we ever sat down with Ted. I'll let you go back and find all that out. But that was a great interview. And I'm glad we bookended it with that, because it's like you get the multiple perspectives and answer a serious question. Anywho, I think we got to play a game, don't you?
That's right. Our signature game, King of the Hill.
Let's do it.
It's Thursday. Yeah. So I lost last week. Very controversial decision. Mm-hmm. So I think that means Ashbrook is in the game this week.
I've got a challenger, Kami Cherry Jacobus.
Cherry Jacobus and Smug, you're judge.
I'm the judge, and I was bailiff last week, and I instructed everyone in the court that we had a rule.
There is no
3 wins in a row, and they're retired.
You can't.
have a
There
cool-off
is no.
period.
There
You're
is
alluding
no,
to
cool-off
the fact that Holmes has now played Steve Schmidt for what, 5 weeks?
This
6.
has never been a rule.
And so I
There is no
warned that
precedent.
when I'm judge, it will be enforced, and it's up to you whether you roll with Steve Schmidt or not. And so, who are you
Wow.
going with?
Steve Schmidt.
Okay.
Well, the toughest thing about this is Ashbrook can't throw it because he's playing in the game.
Yeah, he rigged it last time. That's the thing is like you want to punish him for rigging it as a horrible judge, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens.
Well, let's go
This is
ringside.
outrageous. Hold on, before we go ringside, am I to understand that this is going to be a biased law?
I think sometimes conservatives need to have activist judges.
Yeah.
This is unbelievable.
It's time to fight fire with fire.
Well, I'm going to file. I think that's grounds for an appeal.
File
no
them
matter
all.
what.
File them all.
But we'll see how this goes.
We'll put that right in the trash. Let's go ringside.
Ladies and gentlemen, your attention, please. It's time for King of the Hill. In the blue corner, fighting from her own blue sky account, Commie Cherry Jacobus. And now, in the red corner, fighting from his home in Utah, and current champion of the world, the old fat man, Steve Schmidt.
I don't know how you could ever outlaw that intro.
Well, current champion, pretender to the throne, who should have lost
That's
last week.
just outrageous.
he has to
and
go.
lost.
He has to go first.
I mean, what a. I not only have to deal with a hostile judge, but a bailiff. All right, so Exhibit 1, if you don't mind. It should also be noted that, like many Nazi thugs of yesteryear, Bovino is a loser, a coward, and a poser, and a moron.
Unbelievable.
So Bovino, this is the guy that has sort of been a part of all the ICE action and all these things. He's sort of taken the hit from the left as being the guy that is mastermind of an awful lot of things of what's happening in Minnesota. He seized upon that to equate him with a Nazi.
Incredible. Let's hear from Sherry Jacobus.
Okay, Commie Cherry, exhibit number 14, please. Remind your MAGA pals that Trump's ICE murderers have nothing to do with deporting illegal immigrants. Obama deported more people than Trump, and it didn't murder them or us.
Incredible.
Trump used MAGA racism as his excuse to imitate Putin and Hitler because it's always been the plan.
Incredible. So
Wow.
it's insane the way that the left has so freely not just called law enforcement, these gentlemen who are working for ICE, Nazis, but murderers and anything possible to gin up this lawless mob to try and attack these people. There can be no quarter given to these people who are like this. We all have to reject them. And so the nuttiest take is hands down Sherry Jacobus.
Wow.
I see where this is going.
Well, what I love about that take is she's
you're gonna
acting.
You're going to add some,
Well,
hopefully,
it's-
like validating commentary
Part of the
to.
football, Duncan.
It's like Sherry Jacobus pretends before these people tragically lost their lives that she somehow supported Trump's deportation policy.
Yeah.
This is what broke it for her. She was 100% behind Donald Trump before some rioters, started assaulting police with their cars.
Trying to put an extra veil on
I don't
top
think it
of
was
this.
necessary. The
That
content
was a
won on
W.
its merits.
Okay.
Ashbrook, round
Being
2,
railroaded.
challenger.
Okay, exhibit number 13, please. And this includes an image which I'll just briefly describe. It's of the Nuremberg trials.
My
of someone who was hanged.
God.
Cherry Jacobus pastes that image of the Nuremberg trials and the man who was hanged and says, tagging Sean Hannity and Jesse B. Waters for no particular reason.
That's insane. That's insane.
Cherry Jacobus.
Wow.
Pretty
at
good.
8:35 p.m. on January 26th.
That's insane.
I'm going to make it particularly tough on this judge and jury to show his impartiality
Okay.
and his prejudging of the moment, so to speak. in sticking with the thematic of the wonderful interview that we did with Secretary Bessent on this very show. Exhibit 4, please. Gavin Newsom was great in Davos and is getting better and
Amazing.
better. He is meeting the moment. We must all meet the moment. Link to the Substack.
So one consistent thing about Steve Schmidt is he's horrible at picking a horse to back in a race. And I saw just yesterday fresh polling among likely Democrat primary voters of who you would support if they ran for president. And Newsom has lost ground. Number 1 is Kamala Harris. And so now that Newsom is failing, Steve Schmidt, as always, jumps and says, this is my guy.
Yeah.
Just for that, I'll let you have this round so we can all enjoy 3 rounds.
Okay. All right. All right. All right. I've got a couple of different ones that I think I'm going to choose from here. And I think I'm going to go with Exhibit 5. Stephen Miller, Pam Bondi, Greg Bovino, Tom Homan, Kristi Noem, and Todd Blanche are America's new judge, jury, and executioners. They decide who lives and dies in America.
Absurd take.
I mean, come on.
Ashbrook?
Okay. Exhibit 11, please. Jerry Jacobus is quote tweeting an image of the assassination attempt on President Trump.
Okay.
And apropos of nothing here on January 5th at 6:47 p.m., she tweets, "It was fake, and we all know it."
Judge, before you render a verdict,
I don't care about the date.
Let me retract all of my objections on the impartiality of this judge and jury. I've seen enough. I concede.
That's it.
Wow.
I mean, the thing is that, like, I was going to give it to her anyways to teach you a lesson.
You shouldn't
but that
say
was an earned win. I happily
No, he's
do.
an activist judge.
I'm an activist judge.
He should be shortlisted right there next to Ted Cruz.
Yep. If asked, I'll serve on the Supreme Court. And I'll always side with whoever's further to the right.
I preside on outcomes, not on arguments.
Yeah. It's about time.
It's about time. Fight fire with fire, they say.
That's right.
Exactly.
Oh, man, that's pretty good. All right. Well, congratulations. It's been a long time since I can take a week off.
Ashbrook.
I appreciate that. All right. Well, listen, when you like and subscribe to the Ruthless Variety Program, we read every single one of your comments. And I'm glad that we're going to continue to do this. We have a live show, by the way, tonight. This very night in Philadelphia at 6 p.m. If you're lucky enough to get a ticket, we're going to join you all for a lot of laughs, a lot of good times, and celebrating this great country of ours with our partners at AFP. America 250 kicks off for all of us tonight. All that being said, fellas, I think we did it.
I think so. Absolute banger of an episode, gentlemen. Thank you so much, Secretary Bessent. Thank you so much, Senator Cruz. And thank you to the listeners. Remember, if you have not yet, go to the YouTube and hit that subscribe because it's more fun in video. So until next time, minions, keep the faith, hold the line, and own the libs. We'll see you Friday. Stay ruthless.